By the name.
Your name?
Agnes Mary.
And your last name?
Wyrick.
Wyrick.
My mother, when I was born, was Lubinsky. Lubenski.
Okay. And when were you born?
That was my name. And then I married Wyrick.
When were you born?
81. 81.
Where were you born at?
Frankenstein.
Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
What was your father's name?
John.
And your mother?
John, Wilhelmina.
What was her maiden name?
Van Dalen.
What do you remember about growing up in Frankenstein?
What do I remember what?
About growing up around Frankenstein. When you were a child, do you remember the games you played?
Oh, I went to school there.
School?
Mm-hmm. Went to church there. That's about all.
You remember when the Spanish-American War?
Oh, yeah.
Tell us about that.
Oh, I don't remember too much about it. And when 1900 come in, my dad and my mother and my two brothers and I walked to Frankenstein to midnight mass.
Bring this over a little bit. How far did you have to walk?
Mile.
Mile?
Up the hill. And Dad had the lantern all polished up. All of he said it was just like electric light. Oh. He had it so bright. He had to carry the lantern to take us up there at midnight, you know.
Yeah. Can you remember the World's Fair in St. Louis?
Who?
The World's Fair in St. Louis?
Yeah.
Did you get to go to that?
No, I didn't go.
Didn't go? Okay. You remember when World War I started?
Mm-hmm. No, I don't. You mean what years?
Do you remember anything about when your brother went to the Army?
Do I know anything about it?
Yeah, when your brother went to the Army?
He was taken in right away. He went to the Army.
What was his name?
Henry.
Henry?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know where he went? Where he served at?
No. He went with a gang from Jefferson City. He had to be kind of a chauffeur or something. He had to shove them all on the train.
Did he write you letters back?
Huh?
Did he write you letters back during the war? Did you write letters to your brother and your brother write letters to you during the war?
Mm-hmm.
Do any of those letters still survive?
He was what?
Do any of the letters still survive?
Uh-huh.
Did you ever do any work for the Red Cross during the war?
Did he do any work?
Or did you?
For the Red Cross? No. I don't think so.
Did you ever send anything to him when he was in the Army?
Oh, yeah.
What kind of things did you send to him?
Anything he wanted, I could get to him.
Can you remember anything in particular? Or?
No. He was a germ carrier, and he was awfully put out about that. They put him out with another guy that he and that guy just couldn't get along. And they were both germ carriers, and they had to stay away from the boys for, several weeks.
Did he have the flu?
No, he didn't have any. He didn't have any. He was germ carrier. He didn't have the flu. He gave people the flu. That's
Gave
why.
people the flu.
That's why they carried him.
Huh. Did you have the flu?
No.
Do you remember when he came home from the war?
Do I?
You remember when your brother came home from the war?
Mm-hmm. They're happy.
Was there a celebration?
Yeah, it sure was.
Can you tell us about that day?
Well, Jeff said it was wild. They was up all night long when the war was over. The town was just tore up.
Huh. Where were you at then?
Jeff City.
Were you?
Mm-hmm.
Can you remember anything else that was going on then?
Do I?
Can you remember anything else that was going on that day or that night?
No.
Let's see, take a few pictures here. Do you remember when the troops were coming home and marching down the street?
Do I?
You remember when the troops were coming home and marching down the street?
The fruits. It was wild, terribly wild.
Can you tell us any more about that day, or do you remember an arch on High Street?
March.
An archway?
Mm-hmm. Everybody marched. Hoops and yelled, shouted all night long.
Were you outside then too?
Oh yeah, I was right with them.
Did they have any bands? Music?
No, I don't believe so.
Was this when the war ended, the armistice?
Uh-huh.
About
What is it?
About 6 months later, the troops came home. Do you remember that day when they marched down High Street? Were you in the crowd then?
I guess so, I don't know.
Don't know. Did you ever buy any Liberty bonds?
No.
John? You used to work at the Central Hotel?
Mm-hmm.
When did you start work there?
Before the war.
Well, you did.
Mm-hmm. And during the war, I went back home and stayed with my mother because she's too worried about my brother being gone.
Oh, so you went back to Frankenstein?
Mm-hmm. Back to Schmoyes. Mother lived in Schmoyes then.
Oh, okay. Can you remember how Germans were treated here during the war?
Who?
Can you remember how the German people here were treated during the war?
Mm-hmm.
How was that?
How what?
You remember how the German people that lived here were treated during World War I?
No. Mm-hmm.
Or what did you do in the Central Hotel?
I waited a table there.
Waited tables.
Mm-hmm.
Did the war affect the restaurant there in the hotel?
Well, I had,
How was that?
to have what?
How did the war affect the restaurant there in the hotel?
Oh, it didn't affect it.
Didn't affect it.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Hmm.
What did your husband do for a living?
Yeah, what did your husband do for a living?
He was a cook.
Was he a cook there in the Central Hotel?
Mm-hmm.
Did he serve in World War One?
Yeah, he did.
Do you have pictures of your brother or your husband in uniform?
No. Oh, Hannibal, but Lord knows where they're at. I haven't seen him for a long time.
You think any of your children might have them?
Do what?
You think maybe some of your children might have the pictures?
They may have. I look around and see.
What were your children's names?
I didn't have no
Oh,
children.
you didn't have any children.
Mm.
Okay.
I had two brothers. One was Paul and one was Henry. But Paul didn't have to go to war.
I see.
He was in the next draft, though. He was ready to go, but they called the war off.
Let's see. Think of any more World War I questions. When you were a small child, can you remember the Christmases? You know, on Christmas time, what kind of presents did you get?
Did I give or get?
Get? Either way,
I don't remember.
I remember. And you started your own cafe up on High Street?
Mm-hmm.
Did your husband cook for her?
Was your husband the cook in that cafe?
Mm-hmm.
And that was the Owl lunchroom?
Uh-huh.
Where was that at exactly?
Well, where the capital, I believe the cab office is there, right in that place. On High Street, is it? Or I've been off High Street, I hardly know how it's in there. Is that where the cabinet office?
The theater?
The Capitol Theater. It was next to the Capitol Theater then, wasn't it?
Where?
Your lunchroom, the Owl lunchroom, was near the Capitol Theater.
Yeah, right across from the Capitol.
How long did you run that?
20 years.
20 years.
Uh-huh.
Did Thomas Hart Benton ever come in there when he was painting the murals in the Capitol?
Who?
Thomas Hart Benton, the artist, did the paintings in the Capitol. Did he ever come to your lunchroom?
Did who come to the lunchroom?
Thomas Hart Benton, the artist that did the paintings in the Capitol.
I don't know who you said.
Are you familiar with the Benton murals in the Capitol building? Thomas Hart Benton?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Did the senators and representatives come over to your lunchroom from the Capitol?
Mm-hmm. Quite a few.
Quite a few. Let's see. You opened your restaurant in 1936. When you opened your restaurant, the Owl Lunchroom, that was during the Depression?
Depressions.
Depression?
Did we have a...
Well, when you opened your lunchroom, it was during the 1930s and the Depression? How much did you charge for a meal back then?
Oh, you get a nice plate for a quarter. For 25 or 35 cents. Chicken and a regular plate.
Could you make money at a quarter?
And chili. Chili and soups.
Was it just the two of you? Or did you have employees in the restaurant?
I had employees. I had a cook, a mother's cook, my husband's cook, dishwashers, and a waitress. There's only about, I guess about 12, 13 stools around the counter. And the capital buds had come earlier to eat, so they get their stools and be empty for somebody else. We had a nice business there.
Did you go to the Capitol much in those days?
Did I go much? Not much.
You remember what it was like inside at that time?
I know people used to come in to brag so about the paintings in the Capitol.
Yeah.
And I'd agree with them, but I had never seen it.
Why do you think you've lived to be 105?
I have no reason. I guess I never drank or smoked or anything like that. Maybe that's why, I don't know. But I've always been a hearty eater. But I never smoked or drank. I think that had something to do with it.
How long did your mother and father live?
Mother was 87 when she died, and Dad was 2 years younger, and he died at 87 also.
Huh. Let's see. Can you remember the first car that you ever saw?
Yeah, I sure do.
Tell us about that. What kind of car was it?
Oh, I guess Ford.
Ford? Where was it at?
Chamois.
Chamois?
We lived in Chamois then.
How old were you when you saw your first car?
Oh, about 10, 11.
You remember who owned it?
No, I never did.
What about the first airplane?
Oh, that's been a long time ago.
Can you remember anybody famous coming to your restaurant?
What do you mean, from the airplanes or something?
Or anybody famous that would come into your restaurant and eat?
Any celebrity?
Celebrities?
Oh, sometimes,
Can you?
The Supreme Court building was right below us. Those judges come in.